Welcome to the Josh Button Podcast, where we discuss health, wellness, and outliers from society. Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast. This is episode 51. Magic is not illusions, it is routine. For me, this could not be any more important. This is not a trivial matter. For me, my life changed when I really embraced routine. Why? What is up with repetitions and habits and how they affect our lives so strongly? Look, last episode was about counterculture. And look, we're dismissing black magic. We're dismissing rituals and paganism and chaos. We're talking about embracing another non-modern phenomena, cultural difference maker of individual routines, daily reps with intention for a positive purpose, for a good outcome, for building, sustaining, driving, achieving goals. And why is this so important? Look, there are a plethora of things out there in this world as we know it today that are nothing more than distractions. Distractions that make it hard for you to become who you can be, that make it hard for you to achieve what you can achieve, to accomplish what you can accomplish. Life is short, man. Take my word for it. Time flies. I look back all the time wondering where the time really went. I mean, I had a great time in my 20s and 30s, but it seemed like they went extremely rapidly. And I have a sharp memory. I remember plenty of things from my youth and all my experience as if they are or were yesterday. But time does fly. We all, I'm sure, have had that epiphany sometimes where we look in the mirror and go, whoa, I've changed a lot and rapidly. Have I really done everything that I wanted to do by this point in my life? I can answer that. No, I have not. However, routine, as soon as I committed to it, as soon as I set it into motion and made these things habits in my life, absolutely positively affected me for the better. And I have achieved more and more as I've stuck with my routine longer. Developing a supportive routine can start with something small and grow into something mature and sustaining and well-rounded and have many layers to it. In fact, I would say that once you establish one aspect of a routine, you will notice several things that could help you sustain that, or that could support that more, or that you would like to add to it for one reason or another. My own morning routine started with nothing more than Wim Hof breathwork. Nothing more than that exercise that was introduced to me properly by an absolute awesome individual who I've given credit to on here many times, who gave it to me in a way that made sense, that was completely palatable for the activities I was engaging in at that time, and that would really sustain a better way of going out into the ocean and a better way of approaching somewhat dangerous circumstances for myself. And, you know, for anybody who's been in the ocean on treacherous big days, you know, it can get hairy real quick. And to be prepared for that is not to be undervalued, because the first time you find yourself out there under-prepared for it, you will understand why if you live. It can be a adrenaline-filled, exciting environment until it's an adrenaline-filled, fearful environment and dangerous. To be prepared for those moments is absolutely undervalued, or cannot be overvalued. Look, if you do start with one single thing like I did, and you commit to it until it's a habit, which generally takes 21 days. If you're not familiar with the concept, it's when you start something new, it is a task for you. It is something that you go and you need to force yourself to do. It's something you need to remind yourself to do, something you have to set an alarm for, something that you have to commit to for a certain amount of time until it becomes habit. And this is I believe it's 21 days. And when it was taught to me that way, it made perfect sense, because especially after a month or so of doing something like this, you just realize it's second nature now. And you're waking up and you're going about that same activity over and over and over again until it becomes absolute subconscious activity, some second nature, so to speak. But why routine? Here, I pulled straight off the internet, somebody else's writing, and they had all of these examples, and some of them sounded a little bit repetitive to me, but I'm going to read them anyways. It says, a good routine will make us more efficient. It will reduce our need to plan. It creates structure in our lives, saves our most valuable resource, time. It instills good habits. It breaks bad habits. Repetition makes us become more proficient. It will help us get to the most important task and get them done. It helps us with prioritization. Reduces the need for determination and willpower. Reduces procrastination. Builds momentum. Builds self-confidence. Saves us money. It's a stress reducer. It will help us achieve our goals. And it helps us monitor progress. I agree. I agree completely. So, when I'm talking about magic, for each and every one of us, there are things that are not imaginable, that are well within our means, that we can accomplish. Things that become far more imaginable when we set ourselves in the right direction. A wise man once told me, find your north and keep it. I had months and months and months of pondering this statement and wrapping my head around it. And there's so many layers to it. I got to be honest. Find your north and keep it. I think there's purpose there for all of us. I said it before and I said it again. When I wasn't living with purpose or had no direction for purpose, I just wasn't as happy. I wasn't as fulfilled. And setting about to have purpose completely changed my moods and how I felt every day. Look, I had a Dogo Argentino for 13 years. She was, God bless her heart, she was an absolute princess. And a lot of my followers via the modeling world or social media know about Rhea. She was absolutely breathtaking, beautiful dog, and just an amazing creature. We had routine, we had structure. And when I came to that point in her life where she was no longer going to be with me, a lot of that structure and routine fell away because, well, I had engaged in these things with her. And I was lost. I can't even describe it perfectly, because when you have for 13 years woke up with the same pup, the same person, or however you go about your life, and you have these things that are set into motion that you're dependent upon. And she was dependent on me just as much as I was dependent on her, of course. But we would go to the park, we would go exercise, we would go jog, I would skateboard with her. And we just had, when we go to the beach, we just had all of these activities that were natural for me to do with her and her to do with me. And it was habit. It was built into me. It wasn't something that I thought about or something that I needed to plan. And it made my life better because of the structure that it offered. And after I lost her, well, I was lost a good bit. The same things just weren't the same without her. And I remember going through a time period there where I was really unhappy and I didn't know why. And I had this freedom that was different, but I couldn't really embrace it the way I wanted to. I did move across the country. I did start pursuing other things, and I was doing the acting thing and going on auditions, and I just wasn't fulfilled then either. And I remember when I decided to sober up and that I needed to live with purpose, the first thing that came to my mind was, I should go work with dogs. And I was thinking, I'll go work at a shelter. I'll go help rehabilitate dogs that have been given up for adoption or that were abandoned. And as soon as I committed to that and I started looking for it, well, doors open. And the first door that opened for me, I did move to Malibu, California, and I started working with 7 or 8 dogs with a private owner who wasn't capable of taking care of them herself, had the means to let me live on the property to take care of the dogs. One of these dogs was in a wheelchair, and Barry, I'd put him in the wheelchair every day and take him to the beach and give him his long walks. And then I would take the whole rest of the pack out and get them a ton of exercise and make sure that, they were fed and that they had some structure. And I just started developing a routine with this pack of dogs. And one thing led to another. And I really, really just embraced this purpose to take care of these dogs. And every single one of them across the pack got into a much better shape. They lost a ton of weight. I would take them up in the hills every day, and we would do these long hikes. I even took Barry. Figured out how to get Barry up the hill, give him a little help, give him a little assistance in certain places. But boy, was that two-legged little dog so happy to get on top of this mountain. Like, you could see it in his face. You could see it in his mannerisms and his actions and his behavior. And just a absolute thrilling, exciting adventure for him every day. And the fulfillment I got just from serving these dogs was astounding. It was life-changing. It helped me actually build upon, layer by layer, things into our collective routine that served me so well in the long run. I took upon the burpee challenge. A burpee challenge, if you're not familiar, is when you, for 30 days, commit to doing burpees in a what's the word for it? In a mountain shape, not a pyramid, but just straight slope. And you would do 10 the first day, 15 the second day, 20 the next day. And as you go through the month, there would be various little breaks, but you're basically climbing this number of burpees that you would do until the end of it. And I did it as part of a group, and it was a group challenge. And to keep ourselves accountable to the rest of the group, we would film these burpees when we would do these burpees and submit them to this Facebook group every single day. And at the end of the month, we were doing 100 burpees for time, and the fastest time would be rewarded by the administrator of the group. And he was a cool guy too. I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. Anyways, I started doing these burpees with the dogs on the side of the hill. So we would take our hike up this hill, and I would get my burpees in. And you would see these dogs on camera. I still have a lot of these videos somewhere. You see these dogs on camera. They had already gotten half their hike in. And they were just as happy as could be. They were content just to sit there. They would wait on me no matter how long it took me, whether I was doing the 10 or 50 or 70 burpees. And they would just look around and watch my back and have a good old time just up there relaxing. And I built this into my routine. This was habit. After it became habit, it became second nature and effortless. And boy, was it serving me well. And at the end of the month, we did the group burpees for time challenge, and I came in pretty high on the list. If I wasn't first, I was second. And the gentleman that put this together the first time was another Miami Dolphins fan, and he was a CIA dog trainer. And he sent me a medal for this burpee thing, and it was a dog training medal, and it was just something cool. We both related to each other with it. We liked working with working dogs, and it was just really, really, it was a life blessing. I was very fortunate to find this group in the first place, but it was even cooler to do something like this where we were all pushing ourselves, giving each other props and really motivating each other and telling each other how proud of each other we were for just doing it. Because a lot of the people that got pulled into this were pretty out of shape, and this was a lot of work for them. And myself, look, it wasn't as much of a demand, but if you've ever done burpees, these things are the truth. They're not easy. So if you're really pushing yourself, which you had to actually get to the point where you could get a good time doing 100 of these at the end of the month, you were getting some extreme benefits. And I just think that it was something that I found me, not that I found, something that found me because I was ready for that next little step in not only purpose, but in developing my own routine and something that would really serve me in the long run. Not only in that moment did I get much better cardiovascular shape and, enjoy the social camaraderie of it, but it served me well for everything else I was doing, slacklining and surfing and the workouts. And all the breath work that I was doing before these things really, really assisted me in the exercises themselves. Go do 100 burpees if you don't know what I'm saying. And I guarantee you get to 10, 15, 20 of these things and you're going to understand what the demands of that would be. So, routine. Look, my routine started, like I said, with just that, with Wim Hof. And through the Wim Hof breath work, I found other breath work exercises and different variations and things that ended up, I replaced about the exact method that I had been using. And I believe that breath work is an individual experiment. And it's something I think you have lots to learn from all the experts and all the different certifications. And I myself will get multiple and have multiple certifications for breathwork and different styles of breathwork. And pranayama comes from yogis, and box breathing Navy SEALs use to calm themselves down. And there's morning breath work, and there's afternoon breath work, there's focus breath work, there's sleep breath work. There's different exercises that and modalities that have absolute outstanding results to be had from them once you do them, and different reasonings that you would apply them. But that one experiment for exercise for myself, Wim Hof in the morning, became second nature. And then I started playing with it a little bit and finding things that worked for me and little nuances that were just absolutely awesome. Awesome. And that's all I can say. It's awesome. I wish I had found it 20 years before. I would have saved myself a lot of, probably late nights and other activities that I didn't necessarily need to be engaging in when I could get high on my own supply, so to speak. Wim Hof would say that and appreciate that. But breath work. I started with just breath work. And I guarantee you, whatever it is that you're going to install first, you install it, you go that 21 days, it becomes habit, and you will find something else to facilitate that getting better, or you improving your life in a better fashion by adding to it. So real quick, I'm in the next couple episodes, probably going to go into details as to why I do what I do in the morning. And there's a ton of breathwork possibilities for yourself, and there's a ton of routines that you could do, but this is what's worked for me great. And I'm going to go into the reasoning for each and every one later. And I'm working on a video right now for YouTube that describes my morning routine. A lot of people have done this. Like Andrew Huberman's got a morning routine. Ben Greenfield's got a morning routine. A lot of people out there have great routines. This is just one that I've collected little tidbits from either other influencers in the health and wellness and biohacking communities that really had a profound impact on me. Things that I took away from them and away from the knowledge that they were sharing that I really appreciate. And these are the things that work for me just the best and what works for me in this routine. So in the morning, I do start with a little Celtic salt in my water. I've said this a million times. And then I go into grounding and sunlight exposure. A lot of people out there give you the reasoning for grounding. Look, we absorb electrons from Earth. This facilitates reducing inflammation and improves sleep. And there's a whole plethora of benefits that I'll go into on the next episode. And the sunlight exposure, same thing, support a healthy circadian rhythm. Get yourself into it as early as possible. Move in the sun. Then I do the breath work. Before I do jujitsu, most mornings I do performance breath work routine while I'm at the park. Then I get into some Tai Chi movements, which I coordinate with some padding for lymphatic stimulation and drainage. I smack my armpits. I start here on the collarbones. I pat my collarbones. I do lower back pounding and shoulders smacking. And you really have to see this. This is twisting motion where you're giving yourself a little fist in the lower back on each side. And then I take a cold shower before jujitsu. And sometimes I'll dip my face. I'm looking for a bigger container right now so I can just do the ice water face dip every morning until I get myself a proper ice plunge again, which I did that for a long time, loved it. And as soon as I can make it a regular part of my morning routine again, I will. At where I'm at the moment, it's not really the easiest to facilitate. But that's basically it for my morning. So let's recap that. Celtic salt in my water in the morning. Then I get out to the park. I take King to the park for this. If you follow me on social media, you know that he is a very important part of my morning routine because he needs his, well, I exercise him while I'm doing this stuff. So electrolytes and minerals in my water, grounding, sunlight exposure, looking directly at the sun. I know you're not supposed to look at the sun. I look at the sun, sun gazing every morning, every sunset. Breath work. Look, there's different breath work exercises I do too as part of my routine. It's just before jujitsu. I like performance breath. I do box breathing before stuff like this, like podcast, and before I got to sit on a desk and write or edit something. I do the altitude mimic training. So I got a little oximeter and I drop my blood oxygen levels really low and sustain breath holds without oxygen so that I am mimicking training at altitude. And this facilitates far better cardiovascular performance on the mats, on and off the mats, both. But to hang with these young kids in jiu-jitsu, and if I get a wrestling round with specifically a couple of the guys there that are good wrestlers and are 20 years old, well, you're going to feel it after a few minutes. And this training has absolutely positively served me for the better for that. And then there's breath work you do before you go to sleep. There's just different exercises that you'll find serve you differently and for different reasonings once you get into it. So the Tai Chi movements, once again, I'll go through these on the video. They're a lot easier to understand when you see them as opposed to me sitting here at the desk and describing them. Lymphatic stimulation. Pat the shoulder, the collarbones and the shoulders first. Smack the tar out of this for a good minute. And get those lower back thumbs, pat my armpits. Everywhere you have lymph nodes, it's a good idea to stimulate them. Your top of your groin, stimulate them with some patting, with some rubbing, with some movement to facilitate better drainage. And then cold shower. If you don't have an ice bath, cold showers are great. I don't do them after I get a workout. I wait. I do them either to start my day before or later on in the afternoon, hours after I've gotten my workout for growth reasons. I want to keep the muscular building to the max as long as I can before I'm a little too old to be adding muscle. And I don't think that time is coming anytime soon. I do not feel 45, or at least what I've been told I should feel like at 45. So I am grateful for that, and I will keep my routine and the structure in my life for as long as possible to keep sustaining some growth and getting stronger, faster, and performing better. I'm Josh Button. This is episode 51. Magic isn't illusions, it is routine. And I can't wait to share with you a good, proper video about my routine, what I do, why I do it, and make it a little more palatable for viewers who don't necessarily sit and listen to podcasts. This is episode 51. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to the next episode where I'll go in a little bit deeper to the fundamentals and the reasoning for each and every part of that routine. Once again, magic isn't illusions, it is routine. I will see you all again. Please like and subscribe and support the podcast any way you can, because I like bringing it to you. And I know that there's a couple of you who have already told me some of the information you found here has absolutely served you being a better father, a better person. And happy Father's Day as well. Have a good one, guys. See you next time.